Something unexplained. Part 1. When the branches of chestnut trees behind the windows of the apartment where Igor Nikolayevich lived, which had not been washed for years, were covered with tender greenery, and then with flowers, he decided that spring had come, although according to the calendar, it was already summer. Waking up, he contemplated a piece of blue sky for a long time, and his thoughts returned not to the past, as it used to be in a rainy autumn morning, but to the future, in which everything was good. He thought about how he could continue the renovation of the apartment, which had dragged on for 20 years. He decided that it would be necessary to work somewhere on the construction site, to gain experience, and after that, to do everything quickly, well, and so that never again to do any repairs and forget what it is, reveling in the happiness of an absolutely idle life, consisting only of sleeping, eating, and— His wife interrupted the quiet flow of his thoughts by singing an aria that Igor Nikolayevich knew by heart. While she was singing, he tried in vain to understand why she was repeating the same thing 1,000 times, preventing him, a gentle and refined man, to reconcile himself with the crude, merciless reality. Having listened to everything to the end, having built a lean expression on his round face, he took a package of food from the hands of his cruel wife, sluggishly reported to her about his plans to gain experience, reminded her that she was late for work, lay down on the sofa, and began to greedily eat halva. The crumbs flew onto his yellow leader's shirt, onto the couch, but they were immediately eaten by a hungry cat who tried to lick his mouth. "Don't be familiar," exclaimed Igor Nikolayevich loudly and shoved it away. "Give you the will, so you'll get into my belly and eat everything there." And at that joyous moment the doorbell rang. It rang like a drill into the brain of the poor slacker. Someone behind the door pressed the button and held it for 5 minutes without letting go. Only one person could make such a call, a younger friend and comrade of our hero, who could be his sons. When Igor Nikolayevich was angry with him, he called him Diamond the Goat, and when he wanted to encourage him, he called him Diamond the Pokemon. A piece of halva, which Igor Nikolayevich savored a little at a time, was swallowed in one fell swoop. The cat whimpered pitifully, and the owner swung at her and accused her of giving him away, got up and went to unlock the door. "Hello," he nudged the guest with his bulging potbelly. "How are you, my little dunce? Why are you sticking your flaccid sausages in my face? When will you learn to give a hand like a man does?" "Jive it to me," Pokemon shouted, stretching out all the vowel sounds in each word. His speech was difficult to understand, because half of the letters of the alphabet he simply did not pronounce, but communication with him, despite this, was easy, because he spoke very little. "What can I get you?" There, wiggling, Pokemon squeezed between the jam and the protruding belly of the owner of the dwelling. "What's that?" the guest asked, unceremoniously pulling a large piece of chocolate out of a roll of humanitarian aid for the starving. "This is glucose." Igor Nikolayevich took the chocolate away from the guest, and together with other foodstuffs vigorously put it away in the cupboard above the table. "I lack certain substances, so I must consume them regularly. This looks like chocolate." "Idiot! Chocolate has glucose, it's a sugar. This is pure glucose. You can't eat it. You better show me what you brought me." The Pokemon proudly laid out on the table a brick of black bread, 2 smoked fish, and a plastic tub of beer. Igor Nikolayevich grimaced at the fact that the beer was draft, cut the bread into 2 pieces, and began to think which half was bigger, and also checked which fish was bigger. "This is for me," he said, and put the big half of the bread in the cupboard and the big fish in the fridge. "And this is for us." Igor, Pokemon suddenly looked at his older comrade. "What's that on your lips?" "What could be on my lips?" Igor Nikolayevich began to hastily wipe his mouth. "Something light brown." Pokemon laughed a bad laugh and was immediately slapped by his embarrassed friend. "Idiot, it's not what you think it is. Asshole, if you think bad things about me, I'll kick you out." While the guest carefully made a serious face, the host nimbly began to eat the remaining fish and bread on the table, drinking large gulps of beer. With each sip, he liked this drink less and less, so he drank faster and faster. After half an hour, the guest ran away and brought more beer, which was even cheaper, more disgusting, and Igor Nikolayevich drank it faster and more, hoping that in intoxication he would not feel the unpleasant taste. After the third run, the guest said that they had better move to a bar that was called "How Am I Going to Go?" Igor Nikolayevich was indignant. My burgundy pants were not ironed, my white jeans were soaked. I'm not going to wear woolen, black jeans with lint near the pockets. What about the green ones? No, they won't look good with white sneakers. No, if I wear this yellow shirt with them, I'll look like a parrot. Dress, shoes. Shoes. What if I get in trouble? These are my last shoes, and I'm not going to risk them. What could happen to them? You still have sandals. I'm not going to wear sandals with black socks, and my white ones aren't washed. I'm not going to wear them with black socks. After half an hour of bickering, Igor Nikolayevich stood in front of the mirror and looked uncertainly at his outfit. Black socks and white sandals are not the Euro standard, as Guncha said. But you can do it once. You're not going to a restaurant. We're not going to Yakov's. Uncle Valera there. He's always nagging and ridiculing, and Uncle Igor doesn't like it. It's dark in the bunny. No one will see you there. I don't want to be a laughingstock. I don't want to be a laughingstock. Here, have a little pillow and remember my generosity. It wouldn't hurt to shave. Don't. You've got a face like a little child's. Just because it's chubby doesn't mean it doesn't have stubble. No, don't. You're on the lowest level of development and you dare to be sarcastic. Okay, but we go to bunny quickly and don't talk to anyone. Fast is good. I've had a dry throat for a long time. Do you even have any money? Or are you just dragging me out of the house for a nickel? The Pokemon proudly showed a 20-lat bill and immediately began to crumple it. Don't lose it, you asshole. Before leaving the apartment, Igor Nikolayevich started checking everything. He looked into the stove, stirred the ashes, opened and closed the chimney, listened to the ringing in the telephone receiver, pulled the knobs on the window frames, flushed the toilet, lit and extinguished the gas on the stove. His young friend would make a fist and get a smack on the neck for it. Lips, on the mouth, you nasty boy. Yes, I check everything, because I'm not like you, like all these people in this neighborhood, like my neighbors. It's a good thing I live on the 5th floor, or I'd be flooded every week. And the fires. One alcoholic forgot to turn off the gas and left, and the children were left at home. Igor Nikolayevich has never been like that and never will be. After checking the operation of the door locks, he finally gave the command to go out. Laughing a bad laugh, his comrade told him that he had forgotten to pray and quickly ran down the steep stairs. Digimin. Igor Nikolayevich gritted his teeth and headed for the small, matchbox-sized icon on the wall. God! He kissed the cross and pressed it with his chubby palms against his bulging hairy chest. Make it all right. Sorry, I'm not on my knees. My pants are ironed, you know me. I remember the prayer, but I'm in a hurry. All right, I'm off with your help. In the semi-darkness of the bar, the two friends began to talk. The younger one told about his plans to buy a car and then pass the license. The older one was indignant at such impudent desires of a man he considered inferior. He demanded that he should name the capital of the Republic of Belarus, and hearing in reply that it was Russia, he pounded his fist on the table and said that if his friend did get behind the wheel of a car, he would be afraid to walk on the streets. Next, a vulgar female of about 40 years of age entered the establishment, very playful towards those men who were able to buy her alcohol. As she passed Mitri, she complimented him on his light blue eyes, bulging and fixed like a cat that had been run over by a car. She said they were worth $1 million each, without specifying in what currency. After that, Igor Nikolayevich had to sit down at a table in a dark corner. from where he told his inexperienced friend what to do next. And the young man bought the lady a beer and a couple of chocolates. Either the advice of the experienced catcher turned out to be useless, or the young and handsome but stupid guy could not apply it. The woman drained the mug in one gulp, destroyed the chocolates, and moved to another table to her acquaintance, away from the goggle eyes burning with delight. In spite of his natural modesty, Dima really disliked to when he was being made a fool of, because when the woman went to the restroom, his hand, like a barrier, blocked her way down the narrow aisle, and his voice, breaking into a rooster's cry, announced to the whole place that he had paid for the beer and chocolates. Igor Nikolayevich, seeing this, splashed his hands, shook his head in despair, and went to unhook the tentacle of the octopus from the woman's waist. Evil tongues talked a lot about the fact that one should not drink cheap beer in Zeka, for it is not beer at all, but just a horrible cocktail, which is made of expired beer bought from carts at the Central Market, unboiled water, technical alcohol, and good old Demedrol. One can disbelieve the rumors, but then it is almost impossible to explain the behavior of Igor Nikolayevich, who, after 4 hours of drinking this beer, imagined himself a doorman and set up address control. He approached a group of serious subjects in tracksuits and demanded that they leave the establishment, stating that they were dressed indecently. The square-faced men were very engrossed in the conversation and silently moved to a table outside where they continued their conversation. Such a turn of affairs pleased Igor Nikolayevich, gave him courage to continue the fight for the right cause of aesthetics. Going out into the street, he tried to tear a massive gold chain from the bull neck of one of the serious men. No, Igor Nikolayevich was not beaten. The man only brushed him off like an annoying fly, not even turning his face toward him, and the fighter for beauty, the noble knight, went spiraling across the yard. His dance was interrupted when he reached the concrete flower bed, which instead of flowers was full of cigarette butts and other garbage. The fall seemed long and scary to him. For a while he froze, leaning over the flower bed, and stood like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and then he collapsed. At the place where his head had been, a rather large piece fell off from the broad dish of the flower bed. This first made his squire laugh, and then frightened him. Vainly the skinny diamond tried to get the senseless body, which weighed twice as much as his own, to its feet. He even offered the guard money to help him carry his friend home. Look at that! The guard kicked a piece of concrete that had broken away from the flower bed. That's a tough head. You could chop nuts with it. Why do you have to lift it, carry it around? Do you know how much it weighs? If you pick it up now, it'll fall again and break something. Let him lie down and rest, it's not cold. He's bleeding. It's nothing. It's just a scratch. If it was something serious, there'd be a puddle of it here by now. Let him sleep, he's comfortable here. The faithful squire sat down on the edge of the flower bed and got bored. He didn't like to be alone. He didn't understand most of what he was told, but he needed someone familiar to be near him. Obedient to his mother, he rarely made new acquaintances for fear of evil people. In a fit of boredom, he nervously chewed on seeds, spitting the husks into the flower bed, looking around fearfully. A couple of hours of healthy sleep in the flower bed had a beneficial effect on Igor Nikolayevich. When he woke up from his sleep, he could not understand for a long time how he had found himself in the flower bed. He asked his friend what was wrong with his hair and shirt, which had sprawled on his wounded back. "Igor, you're just a little sweaty. Let's go to Yakov's." "Why to Yakov's? Why not here?" "There's no beer left. There's no beer." In the morning, Igor Nikolayevich's wife unceremoniously burst into his room and caught him in bed with his friend. Until Pokemon turned over from stomach to back, she reproached her husband for impudent treason, but then silently turned and left. "It's not at all what you think. It was just hot. Get up. Why are you lying there? Get dressed. What's wrong with my hair? What's in it? Jesus. It's blood. You scratched yourself a bit in bunny." "Where did I scratch myself?" Where did I scratch myself? There's blood all over my head. You said I was just sweaty, and we walked all over the neighborhood. And the shirt. And you didn't say a word about it. You bastard. I'll kill you. I know you can't stand the sight of blood. What happened in there? You got pushed by a tough guy. Be thankful you didn't kill him. He could have. You went after him yourself. Where was my trusty Sancho Panza when I fell? Why didn't he lend his feeble shoulder? Igor, you would have squashed me like a fly. You broke a concrete flower with your head. Shut up. It's not true. Don't exaggerate. It was in the evening. Let's go to the sea now. I still have some money left. I'll buy you something to eat there. What sea? I walked around the neighborhood with a bloody head like Sugars, in a tattered shirt, black socks, Igor, and the sausages in the cafe. Or do you want to rot in this apartment? Buy me a new shirt. It's all your fault. How much does it cost? About 10 lats, but you can find it at the market for 7. And for 5. And for 5. I said 7. Let's go and see. While Igor Nikolayevich was heating water and washing his head in a basin, shaving, combing his hair for the sake of getting a new shirt and beer and sausages on the seashore, his younger friend asked him for something to eat and got nothing. When they were at the market, they decided to buy a shirt on the way back, so as not to wear it on the seashore. When Igor Nikolayevich drank a mug of beer at the station, he no longer wanted to go to the sea, as well as to buy a new shirt that would harmonize with his green pants. He felt that the shoes he had put on instead of sandals were too tight for him, and he would not get far in them. My size wasn't available, and the price was so good. I think they're my size, but they're Chinese, so I had to take extra. It's warm in the summer, your feet get bigger, so you have to go a little extra. I thought I would wear them out, but I can't wear them out for the 3rd season. I read in the Encyclopedia of Housekeeping that if the shoes are tight, then you need to put a bag of water in it and put it all in the freezer. When it freezes, the water expands. I don't know about that. If you do that, the shoe will break. What do you know about all this? You didn't even serve in the Soviet army. You didn't even wear Kurzov boots. And I was the head of the guard. Every other day I'm on the belt. Let's go. Our train will be here in 10 minutes. Why do we need this sea? I didn't bring a spare pair of underwear. Let's go to that beach where everyone's naked. You take me for a nudist. I didn't say you're a nudist. I meant we'll go swimming where everyone's naked. And the women too. And women too. Don't you know this place? As a senior comrade, I can't let you go there, let alone go there yourself. You can't go there. You can just wait for your underwear to dry. You take me for an idiot who's going to stand there for 2 hours. You take me for an idiot who's going to stand there for 2 hours. After an hour of bickering, Dmitri still lured Igor Nikolayevich onto the train with bottles of beer. Putting his foot on his leg, the young friend of our hero was snapping seeds and looking around at the women in the carriage. Don't spit in your fist. Don't shake your leg. Don't pick on me. I'm nervous. There are so many women here. Don't worry, you won't meet any of them. Don't worry. Look at you. That bag on your wrist. That running, unconscious stare. And your posture. You've got a chicken chest, but your back's a wobble. If only your older comrade would use his charm. For that, he needs inspiration. I can't work when I feel bad about cheap beer. Once at the seaside, the friends entered one very modest store that had only one brand of beer in its beer selection. Nevertheless, when it was his turn, Pakaman stood there for a moment in mute thoughtfulness, and then asked the arrogant saleswoman what kind of beer she could offer him. The irritated woman surely said that she did not want to offer him anything, but could sell only one beer on the shelf. The man, who proudly called himself the best builder in Latvia, reveled in the saleswoman's anger, crumpled his banknote, tapped his knuckles on the counter, and stood there indecisively. Only when his older companion tried to break his neck vertebrae by grabbing him by the neck, he carelessly threw the bill on the counter and deigned to make his choice. The clerk had a long time to decide whether to unwrap the bill or tell the two customers to get out. In the end, she decided that the customers, no matter how they were always right, and carefully brought the money to a proper state. In the meantime, a line had even formed. "You are just sick," shouted Igor Nikolayevich, self-asserting. "And this money is not given to me so easily, and I don't want it to be easy for anyone else. And that gives you the right to mock the salesgirl and me at the same time. And what do you want? What do you want? To drink beer for nothing. What do you want? Tuck, I'm leaving. You don't have money for a ticket, and the trains are controlled. I'm leaving. I'll walk. You'll never make it. You're too old and fat. You said so yourself." Even though Igor Nikolayevich looked at the calendar every day, he never realized that summer was almost over and there were mushrooms in the forest. He noticed this only when he decided to walk home and entered the forest. The unexpected find reconciled the friends. They changed their plans. Pokemon bought a couple of bags, a couple of tubs of beer, a pack of cigarettes, in anticipation of the fact that in the evening he was to taste the mushroom soup, which his skillful friend promised to prepare. The nimble fellow was greedy, agile, without glasses with dark glasses, and this allowed him to pick up a couple of kilograms of mushrooms very quickly. Igor Nikolayevich was not at all happy about his friend's successes. He fell down in body and spirit, ordered a blanket to be placed on the clearing, and fell asleep, telling his companion not to move away from him, to guard his sleep, to drive away insects. He usually woke up to sounds, but that time he woke up to an unpleasant odor. His friend was sitting in the distance with a sad expression on his face. "I had such a wonderful sleep. When I fell asleep, the forest was fragrant. Where did that stench come from? You told me not to go anywhere. You idiot! You couldn't go any farther for that. You bastard! My cat has more brains than you. I've been bitten by ants. You're so inconsiderate. You were the one who put the bedspread there. You were the one who put the bedspread there. I was drunk. I had my glasses on. I couldn't see. I was drunk. I'm supposed to give you beer and look after you like a child? You're the one who's supposed to look after me. You're the one who's supposed to look after me. You're older. Okay, baby. I'll take you to the central station and I'll never see you again. You'll make your own mushroom soup. Igor, put the blanket in your bag. It's empty anyway." Coming out of the forest, friends made up. The reason was Pokemon's decision to treat his capricious friend to a kebab. At the kebab shop, the vendor asked them if they were builders. "What's this all about?" "There's a cottage owner who needs a few strong guys to do some hard work." "What's the matter?" "Not me. I have dislocated vertebral discs." "How much do they pay?" "You should ask me what I need to do first. You should ask me what I need to do." "Guys, I'll call this man. He'll take you and show you around." A wealthy man bought land on the seashore, but a good part of it was occupied by the ruins of an army pigsty. The wreckage of the reinforced concrete structure was so large that it could not fit into the bucket of an excavator. It was quite expensive to hire a crane, so the farmer decided to rent a jackhammer and make small pieces out of the large debris. After a couple of hours, the intelligent man realized that he was not made for such an activity and decided to hire a slave of the green snake for this work. However, it turned out that an alcoholic would cost him more than hiring a crane. Then he decided to try to hire decent people for temporary work, which turned out to be our hero and his friend. Pokemon immediately said that he had experience with a jackhammer, that he was a professional in this business, so he charged at least 10 lats per hour for his work. Hearing this and smelling the odor of alcohol, the Daknik began to say goodbye and promised to call later. But then Igor Nikolayevich suddenly decided that a few days of unskilled labor on the seaside would not hurt him. He asked the dacha owner how much the crane would cost him, and how much he was willing to give for the entire scope of work. The cottage owner immediately improved, invited his guests to the table, offered them birch sap, tapped his calculator, and said the sum of 300 lats, on the condition that the work would be done in 3 days. When Pokemon heard about such money, he said that he could do it alone in 24 hours. Igor rubbed his chin, walked around the ruins, and haggled over the terms, realizing that it was impossible to meet the 3-day deadline. 4 days is the last word. Otherwise, I'll have to pay too much to rent a jackhammer. Don't worry, we can do it in a day. You don't mind if we work at night. Night? I actually live here, and I should get some sleep. Don't listen to him. The boy is stupid, he doesn't know what he's saying. Is this your son? No, he's my friend, my colleague's ward. No, his parents didn't educate him at all, and I, as a kind-hearted man, am filling this gap. Igor Nikolayevich, admiring his enterprise, wished that Pokemon also admired it a little, but the latter was not at all disposed to such an assessment of his friend's actions. Even on the contrary, he claimed that they would have gotten twice as much if Igor Nikolayevich hadn't gotten involved in the negotiations. For this reason, he refused to buy train tickets. At least we have to save money here. We'll have to pay the fine. I'm not paying for you. You asshole, I'm not talking to you anymore. No way. You are supposed to make me mushroom soup. Shove your mushroom soup up your ass. You're not talking to me. If it wasn't for me, you'd never have gotten the job, asshole. And if you come alone tomorrow, you'll get nothing. You'll go home with nothing. I'm coming with my brother. He'll be the first to tell you to go fuck yourself. Okay, I'll pay. It's late. I'm not going out. It's your fault. In the end, Pokemon had to pay the fine, and then spend the rest of the evening drinking beer with his friend to temper his resentment at the attraction of unprecedented stinginess. The mushrooms he'd picked had mushroomed from the heat and the long time they'd been in plastic containers. On the way home, he threw them away. In the morning, he had to press the bell button for over an hour until Igor Nikolayevich opened the door and told him that he would not go anywhere and would not work, even if Pokemon agreed to give him 200 of the 300 lats he had earned. What if you just sit around and drink beer tonight, and we split the money equally later? How could you think that of me? I'm not a slave owner. Then let's go. I don't feel well, so drink some beer and you'll feel better. You'll feel better. I don't dare go to work if I've had a beer. I don't dare go to work if I've had a beer. It's not respectable. And promising to come and then disappear is respectable. I don't know. Go alone and say I'm sick. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere alone. I'm scared. And poor Igor Nikolayevich was forced, shivering with all his body, to start to put himself in order, and then to start working with a jackhammer, hiding his indisposition from the dacha owner, who could not rejoice how lucky he was with the workers. The sound of the jackhammer mingled with the squeal of the trimmer and the singing of Pokemon. He had only learned 2 words of the popular song he was singing. This fact greatly irritated Igor Nikolayevich, made him furious. Sneaking away from the owner, he tried to silence his partner, using physical violence, threatening to stop talking to him and to stop communication altogether, but he did not give in. On the 3rd day, when in the late evening the work was done, the money was received, and the dinner that the dacha owner treated them to was eaten, the 2 friends completely quarreled, even going home in different train cars. Igor Nikolayevich was terribly indignant at the fact that the money had been divided equally. It seemed to him that he deserved more, because he negotiated, he directed the work, and this mentally inferior man was only his clumsy addition, some unnecessary appendage. The Pokemon, on the other hand, expected his friend to thank him for treating him earlier.